it look from the big pink camera downtown Portland? Thanks for joining us. You know our first guest from the HBO hit show Insecure, and you saw him fly with Tom Cruise in Top Gun Maverick. His new memoir looks back on growing up with an imaginary best friend. We welcome the author of Did Everyone Have an Imaginary Friend or Just Me? Adventures in Boyhood, actor Jay Ellis. Great to have you with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
I'm loving the book, but first I got to get into, you used to live in Portland.
I used to live in Portland. This is like my second home.
Really?
I love Portland so much. I went to college here. I played college basketball
at Concordia
University in Northeast. Yeah. I love it here. And I've shot a movie here since then. I shot this Amazon movie, Somebody I Used to Know. So like this is like literally like my second home.
That's exciting. Okay, during quarantine, I understand this is when you had the idea to write your memoir. And I know you don't call it a memoir.
Yeah, but you know, it's interesting. Like let me go back. So I was, it was the pandemic. I was home. It was the first time where I couldn't be at work because we couldn't be on set.
Right.
And I found myself, you know, I downloaded Duolingo and I burned a bunch of bread and I did all the TikTok and Instagram trends that everybody, I did the thing that everybody did.
Yeah.
We did a British Bake Off at my house.
Oh,
like we did
funny.
everything. And then I found myself wanting something deeper, and my parents, they live in Los Angeles now, and I was down at their house and looking through a bunch of pictures, and all these childhood memories just kind of kept floating through. And across a lot of them were like these mischievous, adventurous moments with my childhood imaginary friend. And that got me thinking about, you know,
you were so cute, even
look
toothless.
at toothless Jay. I had just covered my body fully in Vaseline in this picture. And my mom apparently walked in and was like, "What are you doing?" Like as I literally got like the last Vaseline out of the bottom of the jar and smeared it on my face. And she'd just give me a bath in that picture.
That's so funny.
So, yeah.
So you came up though as a child.
Yeah.
You had an imaginary best friend, Mikey.
Yeah.
About 4 years old when he kind of came into your life?
Yeah, I would say about 4.5 years old. And you know, I did a bunch of research, and I talk about it kind of in the first chapter of this book. It's a very normal and typical, like 68% of kids actually have imaginary friends. Yeah. It's just something we all forget about.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about because we've forgotten about it. But my dad was in the Air Force. We moved around a bunch. I was constantly in new schools, and I think Mikey was there to kind of be that support and help me process the world around me while I was moving around so much.
He had a unique look. He was like an older brother to you, right? He
Yeah.
wore like overalls.
Yeah.
He had a flat top.
He had like the one suspender off, and he had like this, you know, like a cross-color shirt, so there was like multicolor patches everywhere. And I say he was like Dwayne Wayne meets the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like glasses and everything, like the full flip glasses. But I think, you know, my young subconscious, I was watching those shows.
Right.
And I wanted an older brother. I wanted a big brother, someone to look up to. And those guys were on TV, and they were cool, and they felt like they had the answers. And I think that's why this kind of like meld of the two happened, and that's what I imagined.
Your parents at first were a little concerned about Mikey, but then supported you, like let Mikey have a place at the table.
Yeah.
Your mom made you 2 birthday cakes, but that was a problem.
Yeah. I don't like sharing my birthday. I'm an only child, so I still want my birthday.
Yeah, because in the book you say, hey, he doesn't have the same birthday as me.
I don't even know if he had a birthday, to be honest with you. I don't know if we've ever celebrated his birthday, but it's really interesting. I think my parents, because it was so real to me, my parents were like, is there someone sneaking in the house that we don't know about?
Right.
Which then turned into like, oh, well, maybe he's seeing ghosts, which then turned into like, oh, he has an overactive imagination. And how do we support that?
Yeah.
They were actually wildly supportive. For a while, they were very supportive of it until it got me in too much trouble.
Why do you think Mikey came to be? Did you feel like, because really you were talking to yourself, essentially.
Yeah.
And Mikey was giving you the courage, or sometimes getting you in trouble.
Yeah.
Why do you think you needed to have him?
Yeah, I really think it was this moment where like my young subconscious was really starting to realize how out of my control the world was around me. You know, I talk about in the book, growing up in the 80s and 90s is like all of a sudden there's this big boom in cable television, and you have 24-hour news networks and sports networks and music networks, and you're now getting all this messaging, and now we're seeing conflict across the world in real time, and we've never seen that before. And I think my young subconscious, with all the moving around, with being an only child, with all the conflict and chaos of the world at the time, gave me something that I could control. And that was this imaginary friend to help me process it all.
You talk about your parents were young parents.
Yeah, very young,
they liked to wrestle a lot. And Mikey would explain to you why they were wrestling, because they had to do that. But Mikey could get you into trouble sometimes.
Yeah.
What would you say would be the biggest time that the most impressive?
Man.
There was a time you almost joined a gang.
There was a time. He wasn't there for that. So it's interesting because I tell these stories in the book that, like, I really talk about how my childhood was, the foundations of my childhood at least, are so rooted in his presence. And then all of a sudden, loss of innocence happens, coming of age happens, I'm now a preteen and like I don't have the luxury of imagination anymore, and now I'm just in this real world. But now because of that, I don't have this buddy who I had as a kid to bounce things off of and make decisions with, and now I'm out there doing it myself.
But he was with you a long time.
He was with me, yeah. I mean, you know, again, I talk about this in the book, like, imaginary friends typically can range anywhere from about 4 or 5 years old to almost 11 years old for kids. And I think Mikey was in my life from probably 5 to 10 and a half, 5 to 10, 5 to maybe even 11. So it was quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk about, I think, like, it's towards the end of Mikey when you guys are building, you saw Back to the Future, you're building a time machine, and you go looking for a flux
capacitor,
flux capacitor. And you go from neighbor to neighbor. And you realize, well, maybe nobody has one of those.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I was obsessed, I'm still obsessed with Marty and Doc and the entire Back to the Future franchise. But I think it was this really interesting moment in me trying to like rush the steps to get to the future. I think when you're a kid, you just want to grow up so fast sometimes. You just want to be grown and you just want to do adult things. And I think for me, it was just this real understanding, or now looking back rather, I can see that it was just this moment of me needing to just be present and not trying to, not having a flux capacitor was actually the best possible thing that could happen.
Yeah, it was like the beginning of him leaving.
It was the beginning of him actually starting to leave and me realizing that like I needed to be grounded in the world that I'm in.
Top Gun Maverick. Let's talk about Top Gun Maverick. It's like you brought people back into the theater. Do you feel that?
Yeah, it's funny, with every time the movie got pushed back when theaters weren't open yet, or when not all the theaters were open, when some chains hadn't decided to open, Tom would send us a text and he would say, hey guys, we're gonna push the movie back. You know, this is why, and it's really important. Like, this movie is a theater movie, and this movie is for the audience, and like, I want people to experience it in that way. And then we happened to be the movie that kind of broke through the beginning of that summer, and we got people back into the theaters and just sent them on such an amazing ride.
What was it like to, first of all, meet Tom Cruise, then work with him?
Meeting Tom feels like a movie in itself. It feels like there's like I feel like the first time we met Tom was at a table read for the movie, and he pulls up on his motorcycle, and like these doors open so people can let him in, and the front doors I actually think somebody was just walking out, but in your mind it feels like the doors have opened and like a red carpet has been rolled out, and like the sun is perfectly placed in the sky behind him, so it gives him this like angelic glow. And then he takes off his helmet and like throws on his glasses, and his helmet just disappears. It floats into the air, and then he walks in with this big smile and he's like, hey, I'm Tom Cruise. And you're like, of course you're Tom Cruise. Of course you are. Like, that was a movie in itself. Your entrance. It was amazing. I have to say, literally one of the most amazing humans, all-around humans I've ever met in every single way. Like a mentor, a friend, a filmmaker. Like he really wanted us to understand how he's done this for so long and be able to take things that he's learned and best practices from his career and then be able to use in our own.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The book again is Did Everyone Have an Imaginary Friend or Just Me? Adventures in Boyhood. Jay Ellis, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, we'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away.